Waiter humiliates poorly dressed customer and discovers he is the new owner of the restaurant. Marcus Harrison was exhausted when he pushed through the glass door of the Grand View, one of the most refined establishments in Chicago. His simple clothes contrasted with the luxurious surroundings, but he just needed a place to eat something after a 12-hour trip. "Good evening, sir," said Julian, the head waiter, approaching with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. The man in a black vest and impeccable bow tie looked Marcus up and down, his nose subtly rising as he noticed the wrinkled work shirt and unshaven beard. "Good evening. A table for one, please," Marcus replied calmly. "Do you have a reservation?" Julian asked, already knowing the answer. "No, but I see several empty tables." The waiter let out a dismissive laugh. "I'm sorry, but our establishment only serves customers with prior reservations. Perhaps you'd prefer the local diner 2 blocks down. It's more suitable." Marcus kept his composure, but something in his eyes hardened. "I'm sure you can make an exception. I'm willing to pay." "It's not a matter of money," Julian replied, now without hiding his contempt. "It's a matter of standards. Our customers expect a certain level of refinement. You understand, don't you?" "I understand perfectly," Marcus said, taking out his cell phone. "But I insist on dining here tonight." Julian sighed theatrically and called another waiter with a gesture. "Tyler, escort the gentleman to the table near the kitchen, the only one available without a reservation." The table was in a dark corner, next to the kitchen's swinging door, where the noise of dishes and staff conversations was constant. Marcus sat down without complaining. Watching the restaurant's activity, Julian whispered with other waiters, discreetly pointing in his direction. When Tyler brought the menu, Marcus noticed it was a different, simpler version, without the special dishes. "I'd like to see the full menu," he asked politely. "This is the only one available at the moment," Tyler replied, clearly uncomfortable. Marcus didn't insist. He ordered a simple dish and waited. 20 minutes passed. 30, 40. He saw other customers who arrived later being served promptly. When his dish finally arrived, it was lukewarm and poorly presented. "Is there a problem with the food, sir?" Julian appeared with his sarcastic smile. "Perhaps it's not to your taste." "The food is cold," Marcus observed. "What a shame. Our kitchen is very busy serving customers with reservations. You should have thought of that beforehand." Marcus set down his fork and stared directly at Julian. "What's your full name?" "Julian Sullivan. Why, are you going to make a complaint?" The waiter laughed. "Go ahead. The owner trusts me completely. I've worked here for 15 years. 15 years, Marcus repeated thoughtfully. "And you've always treated customers like this?" "Only those who don't belong in this environment," Julian replied with disdain. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have real customers to attend to." Marcus picked up his cell phone again and dialed a number. "Mr. Sterling? It's me, Marcus. Yes, I've arrived. Could you do me a favor? Call Julian Sullivan and confirm our meeting tomorrow." "Yes, at the restaurant, thank you." 2 minutes later, Julian's cell phone rang. He answered with his professional voice. "The Grand View," Julian speaking. "Oh, Mr. Sterling, how are you? A meeting tomorrow." "With whom? Marcus Harrison? The new—" The color drained from Julian's face. He slowly hung up the phone and turned to Marcus, who was still sitting calmly at the bad table. "You are the new owner of the Grand View?" "Yes. I bought the restaurant last week. I came to see the place as an ordinary customer to evaluate the service." Julian began to stammer. "Mr. Harrison, there was a misunderstanding. I didn't know—" "Exactly, you didn't know. And you treated a human being with contempt, based solely on their appearance. How many other customers have you humiliated in these 15 years? Please, sir. I have a family. I need this job." Marcus stood up. "Tomorrow, we'll have a meeting with the entire team. Be prepared to explain your service philosophy. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to have dinner somewhere where they treat all customers with respect." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, feel free to leave a like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing, Julian spent the night wide awake. His wife, Sarah, noticed his restlessness. "What happened, honey? You've been pale since you got home." "I made a mistake, Sarah. A huge mistake. He sat on the edge of the bed, rubbing his face. I treated a customer badly today. I humiliated him. You do that all the time, Julian. What's different now? The difference is that he's the new owner of the restaurant. Sarah's eyes widened. What do you mean? Julian told the whole story. How he had judged Marcus by his simple appearance, how he had put him at the worst table, how he had been sarcastic and cruel. Sarah shook her head in disapproval. How many times have I told you to stop this? This habit of yours, thinking you're better than others. I know, but now it's too late. I'm going to lose my job. And right when Chloe is about to start college, maybe if you sincerely apologize. You didn't see the look in his eyes, Sarah. It wasn't anger. It was disappointment. That's worse than anger. The next morning, Julian arrived at the restaurant an hour early. He organized everything impeccably, instructed the team to perfect every detail. When Marcus arrived, promptly at 9 o'clock, the restaurant was gleaming. "Good morning, Mr. Harrison," Julian greeted, trying to appear professional. "Good morning. Gather the entire team in the main dining room, please." The 23 employees lined up nervously. Marcus walked slowly, observing each face. He stopped in front of Tyler, the young waiter who had been forced to take part in the humiliation. "Tyler, right? How did you feel yesterday when you had to serve me that reduced menu?" The young man swallowed hard. "Uncomfortable, sir. I knew it was wrong." "And why didn't you say anything?" Because Mr. Julian is the boss. We do what he says." Marcus nodded and continued asking each employee about the work environment, about how customers were treated. The answers revealed a disturbing pattern. Julian had created a culture of discrimination that many followed out of fear of losing their jobs. "Mr. Harrison," Julian tried to intervene. "I can explain." "Not yet." Marcus cut him off. "First, I want to hear everyone. Then you'll have your chance." One of the cooks, Mrs. Mary, a 60-year-old woman, was particularly brave. "Mr. Julian always says we need to maintain the restaurant's standard. That simple people don't fit the atmosphere. Many of us disagree, but—" "But you need the job," Marcus finished. "I understand. Anyone else want to speak?" Jordan, a young waiter, raised his hand timidly. "Once I served a humble family celebrating their daughter's birthday. Mr. Julian made me move them to a different table 3 times, each time to worse spots, until they gave up and left." The little girl was crying. Marcus closed his eyes for a moment, clearly affected by the story. "How old was the girl?" "About 7, sir. I never forgot her little face." "Does anyone else have stories like that?" One by one, the employees shared similar experiences. Embarrassed customers, humiliated families, people judged by their appearance. Julian shrank at each account, his face growing redder. "Now then, Julian, your turn to speak." Julian took a deep breath. "Mr. Harrison, I always believed I was protecting the restaurant's reputation, that I was maintaining a standard of excellence." "Excellence?" Marcus questioned. "Do you think humiliating people is excellence?" "That wasn't my intention. I grew up believing there are places for every type of person, that a fine restaurant should cater to a specific clientele. And who decides what that clientele is? You?" "I was wrong. I see that now. Please, give me a chance to change." Marcus walked to the window, watching the street traffic. "You know what the irony is, Julian? I grew up poor, very poor. I worked as a bricklayer's assistant, janitor, street vendor. I built my business from scratch, brick by brick." The employees listened in silence. "I bought this restaurant because I always dreamed of having a place where all people were welcome, where a simple family could celebrate a special occasion without being embarrassed, where excellent service didn't depend on the clothes the customer wears." "I understand, sir, and I agree. Please, do you have children, Julian?" "A daughter, Chloe, 18 years old. How would you feel if she were treated the way you treated me yesterday?" Julian lowered his head. "Terrible, sir. I would be devastated." Marcus turned to face the team. "Let me be clear with everyone. This restaurant is going to change, completely. The excellence I seek is not in discriminating customers, but in treating every person with dignity and respect. Anyone who doesn't agree with this philosophy can look for another job." "Are you going to fire me?" Julian asked, his voice trembling. I haven't decided yet. First, I want to see what you're capable of. Starting today, you have 1 month to prove to me that you can change, not only in how you treat customers, but in how you lead the team. Thank you, sir. I won't let you down. It's not me you must not let down. It's every customer who walks through that door. And Julian, and I want you personally to find that family with the girl that Jordan mentioned. Find out who they are and invite them to dinner here on the house. It will be your first act of reparation. Julian's eyes filled with tears. Yes, sir. I'll do that. Great. Now everyone get back to work. We have a restaurant to transform. Over the following days, Marcus showed up at the restaurant at random times, always observing. Julian was visibly trying, but old habits were hard to break. One afternoon, Marcus saw Julian hesitate when he saw an elderly couple in simple clothes at the entrance. Julian, Marcus called. How are you going to welcome them? The waiter took a deep breath, forced a smile, and walked to the couple. Good afternoon, welcome to the Grand View. Would you like a table with a garden view? The couple seemed surprised by the warm reception. Marcus nodded approvingly, but noticed Julian still seemed uncomfortable. Later in the office, Marcus called him to talk. I saw your effort today, but I also saw that you're still struggling with your prejudices. It's harder than I thought, sir. Years of wrong thinking, but I'm trying. I swear I am. Tell me about your story, Julian. Where does this prejudice come from? Julian hesitated, then began to speak. My father was a doorman in a luxury building. He always told me we needed to know our place, that people like us served, not were served. When I got the job here, 15 years ago, I promised myself that I would never be seen as inferior again. I guess I ended up becoming what I hated most. You became the oppressor instead of the oppressed, Marcus observed. Yes. And the worst part is that I didn't even realize it. Judging people, classifying them became automatic. Real change takes time, Julian, but it has to come from within. It can't just be to keep your job. I know. Yesterday, my daughter told me something that made me think. She said she was ashamed to bring her more humble friends to the restaurant because she knew how I would treat them. And how did that make you feel? Devastated. What kind of example am I setting for her? Marcus stood up. Use that feeling. Turn it into motivation for real change. Now tell me, did you manage to locate the girl's family? Julian's face brightened a little. I did. It was tough, but Tyler remembered the name. The Miller family. The father is a bricklayer, the mother is a housekeeper. The girl's name is Lily, she's 9 now. And did you contact them? Not yet. I'm ashamed. How am I going to explain? With honesty. Tell them the restaurant is under new management and that we'd like to correct a mistake from the past. Do you think they'll accept? There's only one way to find out. The next day, Julian finally found the courage. With trembling hands, he dialed the number he'd gotten. A woman's voice answered. Hello? Mrs. Miller? Mrs. My name is Julian Sullivan from the Grand View. There was a silence on the other end. What do you want? Her voice turned defensive. Ma'am, I'm calling to apologize. 2 years ago, you and your family were treated very badly at our restaurant. I was the one responsible. Why are you calling now? Because the restaurant has a new owner who's changing everything, and because I realized how wrong I was. I'd like to invite your family to dinner with us as our special guests. Is this some kind of prank? No, ma'am, it's a sincere attempt to make amends for a terrible mistake. I know it doesn't undo what happened, but my daughter cried for weeks, the woman interrupted. She had saved up her nickels and dimes to help pay for dinner. She said she wanted to eat at a fancy place for her birthday. And you humiliated her. Julian felt a lump in his throat. I'm so sorry. I really am. There's no excuse for what I did. Why should I believe you? Because, Julian paused, searching for words. Because I found out I have a daughter too, and if someone did to her what I did to Lily, I would never forgive them. I don't expect forgiveness, Mum. Just a chance to show that people can change. Another long silence. "I'll talk to my husband," she finally said. "I'll call back if we decide to accept." "Thank you for listening, Mrs. Miller." Julian hung up and found Marcus standing at the office door. "You did well, Julian. Sincere. I don't know if they'll come. What matters is that you tried, and that you felt the weight of what you did." Days passed with no response from the Miller family. Julian continued his process of change, but the lack of news troubled him. Marcus noticed his genuine effort, but also realized there was still a lot of work ahead. On a rainy Thursday, the restaurant was especially busy. Julian was coordinating the dining room when he saw a family standing at the door. A man with calloused hands, a woman in a simple yet immaculate dress, and a wide-eyed girl holding her mother's hand tightly. It was the Miller family. Julian froze for a moment, then walked over to them. "Mrs. Miller, Mr. Miller. Lily. Welcome." The girl hid behind her mother, clearly recognizing Julian. "We came to see if it's true," the father said, his voice firm but cautious. "About the changes. Please follow me. We've set up our best table for you." As he guided them through the dining room, Julian noticed the looks from other well-dressed customers. Some frowned, whispering among themselves. He felt the old urge to protect the restaurant's standard, but suppressed it. "Here you are." He indicated a central table with a view of the illuminated garden. "Our chef will prepare anything you'd like." "Anything is too expensive," Mr. Miller said dryly. "You're our guests. Please don't worry about it." Marcus observed from a distance, letting Julian handle the situation. During dinner, Julian approached several times to check if everything was fine. The third time, Lily finally looked at him. "Why were you mean to us?" she asked with the brutal honesty of children. Julian knelt down to her level. "Because I was wrong, Lily. Very wrong. I thought people's clothes and money said who they were, but they don't. So what does? Their hearts, how they treat others, and I wasn't treating people well. My mum says everyone makes mistakes. Your mum is right. The important thing is to learn from mistakes. Did you learn?" "I'm trying, Lily. Every day." The girl seemed to consider that, then whispered something in her mother's ear. Mrs. Miller smiled for the first time. "Lily wants to know if she can order dessert." "Of course. We have a pastry chef who does wonderful things. How about choosing right in the kitchen?" The girl's eyes lit up. "Can I?" With her parents' permission, Julian took Lily to the kitchen, where Chef Anthony put on a private dessert show. The girl laughed and clapped, choosing a chocolate-covered profiterole. When they returned to the table, the atmosphere had changed. The initial tension gave way to lighter conversation. Mr. Miller talked about his work in construction, Mrs. Miller about the challenges of balancing 3 jobs. Julian listened with genuine attention. "You know," said Mr. Miller, "I always worked hard to give my family the best. That day 2 years ago was the first time I could bring them to a place like this, and when we were treated that way, it was as if they confirmed we didn't belong here." Mrs. Miller finished. "You belong," Julian said firmly. "Anyone who walks through that door belongs." It took me too long to understand that. At the end of dinner, as the family was getting ready to leave, Lily tugged at the hem of Julian's vest. "Thank you for dinner, sir. It was very tasty. Come back any time. And Lily, happy belated birthday." The girl smiled, a smile Julian would keep in his memory. After they left, Marcus approached. "How do you feel?" "Small, but also relieved. It's strange. That's the weight of pride leaving your shoulders. Keep it up." But not everything was roses. The next day, Julian faced resistance from some of the older waiters who shared his previous views. "Is it turning into a local diner now?" Ryan, one of the oldest waiters, complained. "Yesterday there was a family that looked like they came straight from a construction site." "And they were served like any other customer," Julian replied firmly. "You've changed a lot, Julian. Trying to impress the new boss?" "I'm trying to be a better person, Ryan. You should try too." "Me? I know my place, and I know other people's places too." "Then maybe this isn't your place anymore." Ryan stared at him in surprise. "Are you threatening me?" "I'm saying things have changed. Adapt or find another job. The discussion reached Marcus's ears, and he called both of them in. Ryan, how long have you worked here? 12 years, sir. And do you agree with the old policy of discriminating against customers? It's not discrimination, sir. It's maintaining a standard. What standard? The standard of quality that our traditional customers expect. And if I tell you that standard is changing? Ryan hesitated. Then maybe the restaurant will lose its identity. Or maybe gain a new, better one, Marcus suggested. Ryan, I'll be direct. Either you embrace the new philosophy, or you'll have to look elsewhere. The decision is yours. Ryan left the meeting visibly upset. In the following days, his resistance became more subtle, but still present. He followed orders, but without enthusiasm, and his negative comments began to affect other employees. Julian found himself in a difficult position. As the team leader, he needed to maintain harmony but also implement changes. One night, after a particularly tense shift, he sought out Marcus. "We're losing employees," he admitted. 3 quit this week. The ones who can't accept the changes. Yes. And Ryan is influencing others. What do you suggest? Julian hesitated. Months ago, he would have suggested temporizing, keeping the status quo. But now, I think we need to let go those who don't want to change and hire people aligned with the new vision. Marcus smiled slightly. You're learning to lead for real, Julian. It's still hard. Ryan was my friend for years. A friendship based on shared prejudices isn't real friendship. The changes continued. New employees were hired, training on humanized service was implemented. Julian became the main advocate of the new philosophy, surprising those who had known him for years. But the real test came on a busy Saturday. The restaurant was packed when the Brooks family arrived. Unemployed father, seamstress mother, 3 young children. They were celebrating their silver wedding anniversary in their best clothes, which were still simple. The new host hesitated. The restaurant was full of regular customers, some already making comments about the decline of the establishment. Julian noticed the hesitation and intervened. Good evening, Brooks family. What a joy to welcome you to our home. A silver wedding anniversary deserves a special celebration. We have a reservation, Mr. Brooks said timidly, showing the paper. Of course, and we have prepared a special table for you. As he led them, Julian clearly heard a comment from a regular customer. Where is this place going? Soon they'll be accepting beggars. Julian stopped, turned politely. Mrs. Wentworth, the excellence of an establishment is measured by the quality of service, not by the customer's bank accounts. If that bothers you, there are other restaurants in the city. The woman was stunned. How dare you speak to me like that? I've been a customer for 20 years, and you'll continue to be welcome as long as you respect all our customers. I'm going to talk to the owner about this. Please go ahead, he's in the office. Mrs. Wentworth marched furiously to Marcus's office. 20 minutes later, she came out even more furious, grabbed her purse, and left the restaurant. What did you say to her? Julian asked later. That she was free to dine wherever she wanted, but that here all people would be treated with dignity. She's influential. She might badmouth the restaurant. Let her. We'd rather lose bigoted customers than our integrity. In the following weeks there was indeed a drop in business. Some old customers stopped coming. But something interesting began to happen. New customers appeared, families who had never felt welcome, young couples saving up for special occasions, diverse groups who appreciated the welcoming environment. Mrs. Mary from the kitchen commented one morning, You know, Mr. Julian, the restaurant is different, more alive. How so? Before it was beautiful but cold. Now it has human warmth. Yesterday I saw a girl hug the waiter because he was kind. When was the last time you saw that here? Julian reflected. It was true. The atmosphere had changed. There were more genuine smiles, more warmth in interactions. Dear listener, if you are enjoying the story, take the opportunity to leave a like and especially subscribe to the channel. That helps us a lot since we are just starting out, now continuing. But the challenges continued. One afternoon, Julian received a disturbing call. It was his daughter Chloe crying. Dad, I just left an internship interview. What happened, honey? The interviewer said he saw your name on my resume. He said you were known for being elitist and that it tainted my image. Julian felt his blood run cold. His past reputation was affecting his daughter. Sweetheart, I'm sorry. No, Dad. I defended you. I said you've changed, that you're trying to be better. But it was hard to hear that. Where are you? I'll come get you. As he drove, Julian reflected on how his past actions created waves that hit the people he loved. He found Chloe in a nearby square, her eyes red. Tell me exactly what happened. Chloe recounted the interview. The interviewer was the son of a merchant who had been humiliated at the restaurant years ago. He clearly remembered Julian. You know the worst part, Dad. He was right about the past. You really did those things. Yes, I did, and now I'm paying the price. You too, unfairly. But you've changed, haven't you? You're not just pretending. Julian held his daughter's hands. I'm changing, Chloe, every day. It's hard. Sometimes I slip, but I'm trying. Truly. I believe you, Dad, but other people are going to take a while to believe. I know, and that's okay. The important thing is to keep doing the right thing. The next day, Julian made a difficult decision. He sought out Marcus. I need to do something more, he said. It's not enough to change on the inside. I need to make amends for the harm I did out there too. What do you have in mind? I want to find people I mistreated over the years, apologize in person. Marcus studied Julian for a moment. That's going to be painful. I know, but necessary. You have my support. Take whatever time you need. Julian started making a list. It was painful to realize how many names he could remember. With the help of Tyler and other staff members, he located several people. The first was Mrs. Evelyn, a retired teacher who had been humiliated at a graduation lunch for her granddaughter. Mrs. Evelyn? I'm Julian Sullivan from the Grand View. She, a black woman with white hair and a dignified posture, received him coldly. I remember you. What do you want? To ask for forgiveness. For how I treated you 3 years ago. 3 years and 2 months, she corrected. It was my granddaughter's medical school graduation, the first in the family. I saved up for months for that lunch. Julian lowered his head. I'm so sorry. Deeply sorry. You know what hurt the most? It wasn't your disdain. It was seeing my granddaughter pretend not to notice. She tried to protect me from the humiliation, but I saw it in her eyes. I saw the anger, the helplessness. There's no excuse for what I did. No, there isn't. But, she paused, I appreciate that you came. It's not easy to face your own mistakes. Do you forgive me? Forgiveness isn't asked for, young man. It's earned. But I accept your apology as a first step. Julian left that meeting emotionally drained, but determined to continue. Each visit was a lesson in humility. Some received him with hostility, others with indifference, a few with understanding. Mr. Sato, owner of a small grocery store, was particularly harsh. You made me feel small in front of my wife, said the elderly Japanese man. On our wedding anniversary, 40 years together, and you ruined the night. I'm so sorry, Mr. Sato. My wife passed away last year. That was one of the last times we went out to celebrate. The weight of those words hit Julian like a punch. Some mistakes couldn't be fixed. I don't know what to say. Don't say anything. Just be better, so that others don't go through what we did. Weeks turned into months. Marcus watched Julian's transformation with interest. The arrogant man was giving way to someone more humble, more aware, but not everyone believed in the change. Ryan, the waiter who had quit, spread rumors in the culinary scene. He said it was all an act, that Julian was just saving his job. The rumors reached Marcus through a supplier. They're saying you're destroying the Grand View, the supplier commented during a meeting, that it's become a local diner. And what do you think, Scott? Me? I think it's busier than ever, and people seem happier. Exactly. We're not destroying anything. We're building something new. But you lost important customers, and gained many others, customers who value more than status. That night, Marcus gathered Julian and the key staff. We're at a crucial moment, he said. We can go back, try to win back the elitist customers, or we can move forward with our vision. What do you think? Tyler was the first to speak. I vote we move forward. I've never liked working here so much, Mrs. Mary agreed. Now I cook with joy. I know the food goes to people who truly appreciate it. One by one, the staff supported the new direction. Julian was the last to speak. I spent my whole life trying to impress people who didn't care about me. I treated good people badly to please bad people. I don't want to go back to being that person. Let's move forward, Marcus smiled. Then it's decided, but we need a strategy to strengthen our new identity. It was Chloe, Julian's daughter, who came up with the idea. She had started helping at the restaurant in her spare time. Why don't we create community events, she suggested during a family dinner. Like once a month, a special dinner for families who normally couldn't afford it. What do you mean? Sarah, her mother, asked. Well, we charge the regular price from regular customers, but we reserve a few tables for families referred by social institutions. No charity, with dignity. Julian looked at his daughter with pride. That's a wonderful idea. And we could call it Community Night, Chloe continued. Show that the grand view belongs to everyone. The idea was taken to Marcus, who approved it immediately. The first event was scheduled for the following month. Julian took charge of the organization himself. But the external resistance continued. 1 week before the event, a group of former customers published an open letter in a local newspaper criticizing the decline of the grand view. What was once an oasis of refinement has become a common restaurant, the letter read. The exclusivity that made the place special has been lost. Marcus read the letter to the assembled staff. This is a direct attack on what we're building, he said. How do we respond? We ignore it, Tyler suggested. Our work speaks for itself. No, Julian disagreed. We need to respond, but not with words, with actions. What do you suggest? That the community night be even better than we planned, that we show what it really means to be special. Preparations intensified. Julian worked tirelessly, taking care of every detail. On the day of the event, the restaurant was impeccable. The first families began to arrive. Among them, to Julian's surprise, was the Miller family. Lily ran up to him. Mr. Julian, we're back. Lily, what a joy to see you. Mom said today is special. It is, very special. The dining room filled up. Humble families mixed with regular customers. Initially, there was some tension, suspicious looks. But something magical began to happen. A businesswoman sitting next to a working-class family started talking to them. They discovered their children went to the same school. Soon they were laughing together. A wealthy, elderly couple shared dessert with a young family that clearly counted every penny. The gentleman offered investment advice, genuinely interested in helping. Julian watched it all with emotion. This was what Marcus had envisioned. Not just a restaurant, but a place for human encounters. At the height of the evening, a surprise. Mrs. Evelyn, the teacher Julian had visited, walked in with her granddaughter, now a doctor. We decided to give the new Grand View a chance, she said as she greeted Julian. Mrs. Evelyn, doctor. Welcome, welcome. During dinner, the young doctor approached Julian. Thank you for seeking out my grandmother. It meant a lot to her. I'm the one who's grateful for the chance to apologize. You know, she holds grudges for a long time. But she said she saw sincerity in you. I'm trying to be better, doctor. Keep trying. The world needs more people willing to change. The evening was a success, but the next day, the attacks intensified. Some suppliers, pressured by elitist clients, threatened to cut off supplies. Marcus faced the situation calmly. If they don't want to supply us, we'll find someone who does. But Julian was worried. What if we lose quality because of this? Julian, quality isn't just in expensive ingredients, it's in the care, the preparation, the love for what you do. But the customers will notice the difference. Some will, and they'll make a choice, support our values or go somewhere else. The pressure increased when the city's top food critic, Lawrence Harrison, no relation to Marcus, announced he would visit the restaurant. He was known for being ruthless and traditionalist. "He's going to destroy us," Ryan, who still kept in touch with some staff, spread the rumor. "He'll say the Grand View has lost its class." Tension took over the team. On the appointed day, everyone was nervous. Julian more than anyone. "Calm down, everyone," Marcus tried to reassure. "Do what you do every day with excellence and care." Lawrence arrived alone, was welcomed by Julian. "Mr. Lawrence, welcome to the Grand View." The critic, a 60-year-old man with a stern demeanor, just nodded. He sat down, observed the atmosphere, noticed the diversity of customers. During dinner, he gave no sign of what he thought. He ate in silence, making occasional notes. Julian watched him from afar, anxious. When Lawrence finished and asked for the check, Julian approached. "I hope you enjoyed the experience, sir." "It was interesting," the critic replied enigmatically. "Would you like to meet the chef or our owner?" "That won't be necessary. Good evening." The team spent anxious days waiting for the review. When it was finally published, Julian read it aloud to everyone. "The Grand View has changed. Where there was once aristocratic coldness, there is now human warmth. Some will call this decline. I call it evolution. The food remains impeccable, the service attentive. But now there is something more: soul. I saw families celebrating simple achievements with the same dignity as executives closing deals. I saw Julian Sullivan, whom I knew in his most arrogant phase, kneel to wipe up milk spilled by a child, genuinely smiling at the embarrassed mother. The Grand View hasn't lost class. It gained humanity. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is rare in today's gastronomy." There was a moment of silence. Then the kitchen exploded in celebration. Julian had tears in his eyes. "We did it," he murmured. "No," Marcus corrected. "You did it, Julian. Your change inspired us all." But the battle wasn't won. The next day, a group of investors approached Marcus with an offer. They would buy the restaurant for twice what he paid on the condition of returning to the previous format. Marcus didn't even consider it, but the news leaked and caused insecurity among the team. "What if he sells?" Tyler asked Julian, worried. "He won't sell." "How can you be so sure?" "Because he isn't here for the money. He's here for something bigger." Julian was right. Marcus called a meeting. "I want everyone to know there is no amount that would make me sell our vision. The Grand View is not for sale, not today, not ever." The statement strengthened the team, but the challenges continued. On a particularly busy Saturday, there was an incident that tested all the progress. A group of young executives, clearly drunk, began making loud comments about other customers. "Look at that," one of them said, pointing at a humble family. "The bar really has dropped. Anyone can get in here now." Julian discreetly approached. "Gentlemen, please keep your voices down." "And who are you?" the most arrogant one challenged. "I'm the manager, and I'm asking you to respect all our guests." "Respect?" The young man laughed. "Do you know who I am? How much my company makes?" "I don't care how much your company makes. Everyone is equal here." "I've heard of you," another in the group said. "Julian, right? They say you've gone soft." Julian took a deep breath. The old Julian would have fawned over these clients, but now, "Gentlemen, I'm going to have to ask you to leave." "What?" They looked shocked. "You're disturbing other guests. Please leave." "This is absurd. We'll sue you." Marcus appeared. "Any problem?" "These gentlemen were being disrespectful, and I asked them to leave," Julian explained. "Right decision," Marcus supported. "Gentlemen, the exit is that way." The group left, making threats. The next day, as expected, the father of one of them, an influential businessman, called Marcus. "My son was humiliated at your establishment." "Your son humiliated other guests, sir. We don't tolerate that." "Do you know who I am?" "I do. And I also know who I am. Someone who doesn't bow to bullying, no matter where it comes from." The call ended with more threats, but Marcus and Julian stood firm. "It wasn't easy, was it?" Marcus asked Julian afterward. "No. Part of me still wants to please the powerful. But you didn't." "No, because I learned that true power is treating everyone with dignity." The following weeks brought more challenges. Some contracts were cancelled, some suppliers pulled away. But something incredible happened. The community began to support the restaurant. Small local producers offered their goods. Loyal customers increased their visits. New families discovered the place. One morning, Julian found an envelope under the door. Inside, an anonymous letter. "Julian, we don't know each other personally, but you changed my life. I'm a waiter at another restaurant and your transformation inspired me. I started treating all customers with respect, no matter their appearance. My boss noticed and promoted me. Thank you for showing that change is possible." Julian kept the letter like a treasure. It was proof that individual changes could create waves of transformation. But the biggest surprise came on a quiet Sunday. Julian was checking reservations when he saw a familiar name, Samuel Sullivan, his father. They had been estranged for years. Ever since Julian had moved up in life and become arrogant, his father, a simple man, had distanced himself. "Dad?" Julian answered the reservation phone. "Hi, son. I heard about the changes at the restaurant. I thought about seeing it." "Of course, please come." Julian spent the day anxious. When his father walked in, wearing his best clothes, which were still simple, Julian felt a lump in his throat. "Dad." "Son." They hugged awkwardly. Julian led him to a special table. "It's different in here," his father observed. "More welcoming." "We're trying to change, Dad." "I heard," Sarah told me. Over dinner, father and son talked like they hadn't in years. Samuel talked about retirement, his health, the grandchildren he barely knew. "Do you know why I pulled away?" his father finally asked. "Because I became insufferable." "Not just that. You made me feel ashamed of who I was, of my job, my clothes, my simple life." Julian swallowed hard. "Dad, forgive me. I was an idiot." "You were. But apparently, you're not anymore." "I'm trying, Dad, every day. I can see that. I saw how you treated that family over there, with genuine respect. It's not an act anymore. I learned that people are worth what they are, not what they have. It took a while, but you learned." His father smiled. "I'm proud of you." Those words meant more to Julian than any critic's praise. The reconciliation with his father was a turning point in Julian's journey, but external challenges persisted. A group of traditional restaurants started a veiled campaign against the Grand View. They spread rumors that the food had gotten worse, that the atmosphere was run down, that it was dangerous to frequent a place that accepted just anyone. Reservations began to drop. Marcus called an emergency meeting. "They're trying to break us," he said bluntly, "but we're not going to give in." "What can we do?" Chloe, who now officially worked in marketing, asked, "Show the truth. How about a campaign featuring our real customers, their stories?" The idea evolved. They decided to create an exhibition at the restaurant, Faces of the Grand View, photos and stories of diverse customers, showing that excellence has no appearance. Julian took charge of collecting the stories. It was a revealing experience. The businesswoman who had lunch next to the bricklayer had grown up poor. The distinguished gentleman who dined every Friday had once been homeless. "Everyone has stories," Julian told Marcus. "I just never stopped to listen." The exhibition was a success. Customers were moved to see their stories valued. The local media covered the event, generating positive publicity. But the decisive moment came when the group of investors made one final attempt. This time, they approached Julian directly. "We know Marcus won't sell," they said, "but you have influence. Convince him, and there will be a position for you at the new Grand View, as director, earning triple." It was tempting. The old Julian would have accepted without thinking. But now, "Thank you, but no. Think it over, that's a lot of money. There are things money can't buy, like the dignity of looking in the mirror and liking what I see." "You really have changed," one of them commented with disdain. "Yes, I have. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me." When he told Marcus about the offer, he smiled. "I never doubted you, Julian." "I did, many times. I still doubt sometimes." "That's good. Doubt keeps us humble." The first anniversary of the new management was approaching. Chloe suggested a special celebration. How about gathering all the people who were part of this transformation? The list was long, from the Miller family to Mrs. Evelyn, including employees, suppliers who supported them, customers who believed in the change. Julian personally handled each invitation. He even sought out those he had hurt and who hadn't accepted his apologies. Mr. Sato was one of them. Why would I go? Because you taught me something important, that some mistakes can't be fixed, only serve as lessons. I'd like you to see the lesson was learned. The old man considered. I'll see if I can attend. On the night of the celebration, the restaurant was full. Marcus made a brief speech but handed the floor to Julian. A year ago, I was a different man, Julian began, visibly moved. I believed people's worth was in their clothes, their cars, their bank accounts. I humiliated many of you here. He paused, looking at the faces in the audience. I can't change the past, but I can thank everyone who gave me the chance to be better, especially Marcus, who saw something in me that I didn't see myself. Today, the Grand View is not just a restaurant. It's a place where every story matters, where every person has value, and that is more valuable than any Michelin star. The speech was met with emotional applause. Mr. Sato, who had attended, nodded discreetly at Julian, a small gesture that meant a lot. During the party, Lily Miller tugged at Julian's jacket. Mr. Julian, can I say something? Of course, Lily. Thank you for changing. Now, I like coming here. I'm the one who thanks you, Lily. You taught me a lot. Me? But I'm just a child. Exactly. Children see people as they really are, not by the labels. You reminded me of that. The girl smiled and ran back to her parents. Julian watched her, thinking about how many Lilies he had humiliated over the years. He couldn't change the past, but he could make sure no other child would go through that in his restaurant. But the night held one last surprise. Near the end of the party, Ryan showed up. The former waiter who had led the resistance was visibly uncomfortable. Ryan, Julian greeted him cautiously. Julian, can I talk to you? They went to a more secluded corner. I came to apologize, Ryan said, surprising Julian. And to ask for my job back. What changed? I changed, or rather I'm trying to change. I worked at other places, saw how things are out there. I realized what you're doing here is special. It's not easy to change, Ryan. I know that better than anyone. I know, but I want to try, if you'll have me. Julian looked at Marcus, who had discreetly approached. Marcus nodded positively. We'll give you a chance, Ryan, but with conditions, training on the new philosophy, a probationary period, and any sign of discrimination. I understand. I accept all conditions. Ryan's reintegration wasn't easy. Many employees were distrustful. But Julian, remembering his own journey, insisted on giving the chance. Everyone deserves the opportunity to change, he told the team. I had mine. Ryan deserves his. In the following months, the Grand View continued to thrive, not in the traditional way, measured only in profits, but in human impact. It became a model for other establishments. Julian received invitations to speak about organizational and human transformation. He always refused pompous titles. I'm not an expert in anything, he said, just someone who learned, the hard way, that treating people with dignity isn't a favor, it's an obligation. At one of these events, he met the businessman whose son he had kicked out of the restaurant. The man approached him during the break. Are you the famous Julian? That's me. My son told me what happened. I came here to tell you that you were right. Julian was surprised. What do you mean? My son needed that lesson. He spent his life thinking money bought respect. You showed him it doesn't. He changed after that. I'm glad to hear that. I'm the one who should thank you. Sometimes we need someone brave enough to say no. The encounter left Julian thoughtful. The changes created ripples in unexpected directions. Back at the restaurant, he found a scene that moved him. Mrs. Mary was teaching Lily Miller how to make bread. The little girl in a small apron was kneading the dough with concentration. "She has a talent for it," Mrs. Mary said when she saw Julian. "I want to be a chef when I grow up," Lily announced. "But a chef who makes food for everyone, not just rich people." "That's the best kind of chef," Julian replied. Lily's mother approached. "She talks about nothing else. She wants to take a kids' cooking class." "Why don't we host one here?" Julian suggested impulsively. "Mrs. Mary could teach, for kids from the community." Lily's eyes lit up. "Really?" Julian looked at Marcus, who had overheard the conversation. "I love the idea," Marcus approved. "Let's develop it." The kids' cooking class became another program at the Grand View. Children from different social backgrounds learned together, breaking barriers from an early age. But it was on an ordinary day, with no special events, that Julian had his final epiphany. He was observing the dining room from the mezzanine when he saw a simple scene. A shoe shiner having lunch next to a judge, chatting about soccer like old friends. "That's it," he murmured to himself. "What's it?" Chloe, who was passing by, asked. "What it always should have been, people being people." "You did it, Dad. It wasn't just me. It was everyone. Marcus, the team, the customers who believed in you. But you changed, really. That inspired the others." Julian hugged his daughter. "You know what I'm most proud of? Seeing you grow up without the prejudices I had. I learned from your mistakes and your successes, Dad." That afternoon, Julian received an unexpected call. It was from an international number. "Mr. Sullivan, this is the International Gastronomic Institute. We'd like to invite you to speak about inclusion in gastronomy at our Congress in Paris." The old Julian would have accepted immediately, seeing status and recognition in it. The new Julian replied, "I appreciate the invitation, but I prefer to continue my work here. Real change happens day to day, not at congresses. But it would be an opportunity to influence the industry globally. With all due respect, I believe practical example is worth more than 1,000 lectures. If you want to see real inclusion, come visit the Grand View." When he told Marcus about the declined invitation, he smiled. "You really have changed, Julian. The old you would never have turned down that chance to shine." "I don't need that kind of shine anymore. I prefer the shine in the eyes of a child who feels welcome, of a family that can celebrate with dignity." The Grand View was approaching its second anniversary under new management. The numbers showed success, steady revenue, motivated team, community recognition. But for Julian, true success was in the small things, like when Mr. Samuel, his father, started dining there every week proud of his son, or when former customers he had mistreated came back, giving it another chance. One of those people was Linda, a seamstress Julian had humiliated 5 years earlier. She showed up on a quiet afternoon. "Do you remember me?" she asked timidly. Julian recognized her immediately. He had been particularly cruel to her. "Mrs. Linda, yes, I remember, and I'm deeply ashamed. I came because my daughter insisted. She said the place had changed." "It has, and so have I. Please be our guest today." During lunch, Julian served her personally. At the end, Linda had tears in her eyes. "You know, that day 5 years ago, I was celebrating getting my first formal job. You made me feel like I didn't deserve to be here. I'm so sorry. Let me finish. That motivated me. I studied, I worked hard, and now I have my own studio. In a way, your cruelty pushed me forward. But it shouldn't have been that way." "No, it shouldn't. That's why I appreciate your change even more. It shows that people can evolve." Stories like this multiplied. The Grand View had become a symbol that change was possible, both institutionally and personally. In a team meeting, Marcus made an important announcement. "I'm promoting Julian to partner manager. He's proven he deserves not just to run the place, but to be a part owner of the Grand View." The team applauded. Julian was speechless. "Marcus, I don't know what to say." "Don't say anything. Just keep being who you've become." "But I was terrible to you in the beginning, and that made your transformation even more significant. You're living proof that we can choose who we want to be." Julian's promotion brought new responsibilities, but also new confidence from the team. Even Ryan, who had returned, became one of the main supporters of inclusive policies. The real final test came unexpectedly. The former owner of the Grand View, Mr. Armando, who had sold it to Marcus, came to visit. Armando was from the old school. He had created the elitist atmosphere Julian had perpetuated. As he walked in, he frowned at the diversity of the customers. "What have you done to my restaurant?" he asked Julian. "We turned it into a real home, Mr. Armando. This looks like a local diner, with food and service of excellence for everyone," Julian replied calmly. "You," Armando recognized him. "You were my best employee. You understood the importance of maintaining standards. I maintained prejudice, not standards. I learned the difference. I'm disappointed. I built a reputation of exclusion. We built one of inclusion." Armando stormed out huffing, but Julian noticed that before leaving, he lingered on a table where a child was offering a piece of their cake to an elderly gentleman sitting alone at the next table. "You think he got it?" Marcus asked, having watched the scene. "Maybe not today, but we planted a seed." And sure enough, months later, Armando returned. Alone, more humble. "May I have lunch here?" he asked Julian. "Of course, you're always welcome." During the meal, Armando observed everything in silence. As he left, he sought out Julian. Maybe you're right. I saw more genuine smiles today than in years of my time. It's never too late to change your perspective, Mr. Armando." "At 80 years old?" "Especially at 80. Imagine how much wisdom you can share with an open mind." The elderly man left thoughtfully. He started coming to the restaurant regularly, and little by little he opened up to the new reality. He even made friends with some of the customers he would have once despised. The Grand View had come full circle, from a symbol of exclusion to a model of inclusion, and Julian, from a perpetuator of prejudice to a champion of equality. On a special night, the eve of the second anniversary, the Miller family was the guest of honor. Lily, now 11, and having completed the children's cooking course, had prepared the dessert. "I made it with a lot of love," she said, as she presented her crème brûlée. Mrs. Mary said, "That's the most important ingredient." As everyone savored the dessert, Mr. Miller made a toast. "To the Grand View," which proved that a place can have excellence and heart, and to Julian, who showed that people can truly change. Julian got emotional. He looked around. His family gathered, employees who had become friends, customers who were part of the story. Marcus, who believed in him when even he himself didn't. "Thank you," he said simply, "to everyone, for teaching me what really matters." That night, as he closed the restaurant, Julian stopped in the same spot where he had humiliated Marcus 2 years earlier. How much had changed since then? His phone rang. It was a message from Chloe. "Dad, I saw a phrase today that reminded me of you. True greatness is in lifting others up, not in rising above them. Proud of you." Julian smiled. That journey had started with a poorly dressed man asking for a table. It ended with the discovery that clothes don't make the man, character does. The Grand View remained full every night, not because it was exclusive, but because it was inclusive. Not because it separated people, but because it brought them together. And Julian? He kept learning every day that serving with excellence means serving everyone with equal dignity. The most valuable lesson of his life, taught by a man he tried to humiliate, and who instead helped him find his humanity. End of the story. Dear listener, now tell us what you thought of this journey of transformation. Do you believe people can really change? We'd love to read your opinion in the comments. Thank you so much for listening. Leave your like and subscribe for more heartwarming stories.